Hello! Today I'm going to cook vegetables a la Chang. This is a slightly different way of cooking vegetables, but it retains flavour, nutrition, and it looks nice. It's obviously, because of that, it's going to be able to boost your immunity and give you protection against diseases, and also if you're recovering from any illness, it's a good way to get your energy back up as well. It was taught to me about 30 years ago, just under 30 years ago, by an old Chinese friend of mine who said it was an ancient way of cooking vegetables. I've cooked it loads as a side dish or a main dish many times since, but I've never seen it on any menus, cookbooks, cookery programs. Don't think it's on YouTube anywhere. So I'm making this video, stick it onto YouTube so it can people can try it out. Hope you enjoy it. I'm going to serve this with brown rice. So it's 1 cup of brown rice to 2 cups of water, 2 and a bit. Stick it on full. Let's get that switched on. Make sure you got nice, stainless steel's good, and nice tight fitting lid goes on there. Just bring that to the boil and then turn it down. So that is coming to a boil. As it comes to a boil, so that just varies whether it's gas or electricity or whatever. As soon as it starts boiling, because that's on full, you don't want it on a raging boil, so turn it down. I'm halving the heat. Put it down to about 5. Boil it for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then once that's in, then we turn it down to 1 or 2 for about half an hour. There isn't really a specific recipe for this. It's look in the fridge, see what vegetables there are, and use them. You know, there's a basic principle to this. So, like I said, root vegetables go in the bottom, so I tend to chop those first, and things like carrots, parsnips, use this roll cut method. So obviously you could just dice them, and that's fine, that works, but it's just not quite as nice as this roll cut method, I think. So I think it's a Chinese style. You cut across and then roll, cut across and roll, and you make these tiny little diamond pieces, shavings almost. Keep them really thin and small, because the secret to this dish is having lots of, it's the tiny size of the vegetables that makes it blend, and you get this lovely blend. And it doesn't really matter, as I say, what you put into the dish, it's always nice. And then you just keep going, and the blade comes down at one angle and you move the vegetable. You don't have to kind of do this sort of thing. Blade's coming down in one plane, and you just chop away and just chop away like that. And you know, a bit of practice, you speed up a bit. Roll cut. It's a Chinese word for this, I can't remember what it is. When you get to the end, it's a little bit trickier. You can just do slightly bigger shavings, like that. I'm not a professional chef, they would probably do all that much better. And there you go, you've got a kind of basic tiny little pieces, like that. They've got a nice thin end and a thick end, and there's something delicious about the way that sort of slightly different texture, that'll be softer than that bit. That's roll cut. Obviously potato, it's easier to do that with a cylinder, like a carrot, parsnip, that sort of thing. The rounder ones, a little bit harder. You can sort of chop away and do something similar, or you can just cut them in half, and then you can just sort of, and I tend to move the whole thing around as I shave off tiny bits like this, put it on its side, move the thing around, yeah. So you still get that diamond shape, but you might just have to reduce the size of it before you get onto that bit. Okay. And then I'll do this with another potato. I've also got a sweet potato, which I've peeled and halved because it was quite big, it was too big and would dominate the dish. If this was an organic or homegrown, I would probably have kept the skin on because there's lots of nutrition in there, but it isn't, so I've just peeled it. Okay, but I'm going to do exactly the same thing as I did with the potato. Okay, that's been boiling away for about 10 minutes. I had to turn it down to about 3. It was just going a bit too fast. And now I turn it right down to a 2 or even a 1. And this is like the slow cook. Set the timer for about half an hour. But as with most cooking, never leave anything to chance. Always keep checking things, just in case your water runs out and it starts to stick and burn. Okay. A nice big stainless steel pot is great with a nice thick base. In that I put a wine glass of water and half a sort of organic vegetable stock cube, okay, just to give it a bit of flavour. Create a bit of soup. If you want a bit more soup, you can add more water, but I don't like it too soupy. The idea is to steam fry it. So into that goes my potatoes and sweet potatoes. All these sort of root veg at the bottom, remember? They go in at the bottom because it's tougher and they need more cooking. So they do boil a little bit in there, in that stock. Into that also goes the carrots, and I've also got parsnips as well. So there's my root veg. There's a nice blend there of sweet potato, parsnips and carrots. That'll give it a lovely, lovely base, and it's starting to look quite attractive too with that orange, and the parsnip helps with the colour difference as well. Okay. Now on to the next layer now, the middle layer, which is the semi-hard vegetables like I'm going to put cabbage and beans because that's what I've got in my fridge. I also put cauliflower, broccoli, that sort of thing at this stage. But not everyone in my family likes cauliflower, so I'm not putting cauliflower in this one. I'm going to start with the cabbage. Shred it very thinly. Again, the principle being that we make the vegetables very small. Okay? Just shredded like that. Just really thin layers like that. Okay. Really good thing about this method of cooking is there's no need to waste anything, so every bit of the vegetable is pretty much useful. These are the tough outer leaves. People often throw these away, but they're full of goodness, sometimes more goodness. So what we do, because we're cutting them really small, they melt away into the blend really nicely. So I just roll these up like that, and then you can just do these slightly thinner if you can, because they are a bit tougher. And they do need slightly more cooking if you don't do that. So this whole dish only cooks for about 3 or 4 minutes. So just doing nice thin shreds is the way to deal with the outer leaves of this, but also when we come to the leeks, again, every bit of the leek is used. And even these stalks, you can do those really, really small, like that. Okay, the next vegetable that's going into that layer are the beans, because they're quite sort of firm and crunchy. So you can just do this the way you like, but again, because the principle is sort of to have them a bit small, not too small. I don't want these totally disappearing in. I just chop these into 3, so they're still kind of go on the fork quite nicely and a bit longer than there, just into that kind of size. Just a handful of beans, and they'll go in with the cabbage. This has got about 10 minutes left, so just before I put the veggies in the next layer, I'm going to have a quick look inside, see how it's doing. Right, so the water started to disappear, the rice is starting to fluff up, but there's still a bit of water left, which is good because it won't burn or stick. It means there's a little bit more cooking left to do. 10 minutes might do it. Okay, now I'm going to put in this next layer of veg, so put the beans in, scatter those around. Okay, and then I'm going to stick the cabbage on top. There. Again, there's those darker leaves there. Spread those around a bit. Okay, we're ready for the next layer. Now it's been washed, it's been split, and this is how I, again, bunch up these tough leaves. Most people throw these leaves away. They're delicious. And just nice and small. Again, that will disappear into the blend, but bring it lots of flavour. And of course, all the vitamins and enzymes and all the good stuff in there is preserved. Nice crunchy leaf, this, they're in season. And absolutely delicious. Now as you get to the softer, whiter part, I often make that half as well. You can make it slightly wider. It doesn't have to be quite as thin. Obviously, make sure you've got a nice sharp knife when you're doing this. It's very important. And then the white bits. And these all like open up. Just open them up a little bit. Okay. Put the leeks in there. That's the next section. Open them up as I go. Spread them out like that. It's one leek. all shredded. That's the middle layer finished. So I'm just going to put the top layer on. Remember, the top layer is the softer, lighter vegetables. Often I put my zucchini, courgettes, little half moon slithers on that bit, or red pepper brings out the colours because you've got a nice contrast with the green. It's looking quite green, but we know underneath there's the more colourful stuff, and again at the end we'll mix it up. On this occasion I don't have anything else like that, but I do have some lettuce, and lettuce is delicious in this. I've got some parsley, that will give it a bit of flavour, lots of vitamins as well, and some garlic. Sometimes I put in very thinly sliced onion on top here as well, because that's a softer vegetable. So that is it. All I need to do now is put some soy sauce in there. Okay, last stage is getting the soy sauce in there. So I don't know exactly how much I put in. I just kind of sprinkle it all over so it sort of darkens the top. This is dark soy sauce. Soy sauce is fantastic with vegetables, as you know, probably from stir frying. So I just give it a good layer of that. You can always add more later if needs be. And a tight fitting lid goes on top. Okay. Now we can do this live. That goes up to full. Once that starts boiling, that's almost it. You have to be really careful here that you don't overdo it. Okay, that's been in there about 3 minutes. It's been boiling really hard, and now is the time to make sure it doesn't overcook. So we've got to try and dig down to the bottom and try and get these big heavy lumps out. Like that's one of the biggest lumps of root vegetable there is. If that's ready, it's soft, yep, that's ready. So what I need to do is start mixing it a little bit and make sure the cabbage is cooked, cooking through, and the leeks. I would just give that maybe a couple of seconds. I think we're good. I would turn the heating off now. I'm going to turn the heat off now. Okay. And make sure the lid doesn't go back on. In fact, I would take that off and just, in case you're wondering, that's a sourdough starter my son's working on, trying to make sourdough, but it's in a warm place to ferment. Yeah, so see now, start mixing it up. Okay, mix them up like this. That looks really good actually. That's all cooked. Mix it thoroughly. Remember, there's half a stock cube in the bottom if you want to get that stock all over the veggies. That looks pretty good. Right, final touch. Make sure it doesn't go back on the heat. Make sure the lid doesn't go back on, or it'll keep cooking and ruin it. That's had literally, that was about 5 minutes tops. Final touch is, surprisingly, a bit of vegetable oil. Okay, so it's sort of the opposite of stir fry. The oil goes in, so just a drizzling of oil there. Gives it a lovely glossy look. It adds loads of kind of vitamin C, and it does really help with the flavour, and it just kind of starts to pop there with the colours and things. And that's it. Vegetables a la Chang.